Today we're going to cover a little information about what applied kinesiology is, or as I like to call it, the least expensive MRI you'll ever get for your horse. People who do applied kinesiology or applied kinesiologists are really functional neurologists. Neurologists who take what we know about the brain and the whole organ system of the animal and use that to figure out what's going on, why things hurt, why something's not working, so they can go back and fix it. This takes very special training above and beyond a lot of veterinary medicine, above and beyond chiropractic. But what it does for us is gives us a lot of information about what's going on in the animal. What we are looking for with applied kinesiology is not just how movement is, but how it affects the brain. What we're using it for is to find out about the electrical system of the animal. Is this animal's electricity functioning like it should be? If you plug in a lamp and it shorts out, the light doesn't work anymore. The lamp is still getting electricity, but the light doesn't work. That's kind of what we're doing with applied kinesiology. We are testing the electrical system of the animal. How can we possibly do that? When we check humans using applied kinesiology, we ask them to respond to some pressure, because what we're testing is the strength of a muscle system. What that muscle system in that human does is lets us know if the signal from the muscle to the brain and back, from the motor cortex of the brain back to the shoulder, is working. And as you can see, Dr. O has no trouble resisting the pressure of my fingers. I can bounce him a little bit, but when I put steady pressure, he can hold against it pretty easily. When we find a short in the system, then the muscle really doesn't get the right information. And you can see he has a much harder time holding against me. So as we short out his system, now that may seem a little hokey. So you can try this at home. I'm not going to teach you exactly how to do applied kinesiology, but anybody can test the strength of a muscle. And it's not difficult. Just push on it and then find a weak spot. So if you've ever had any kind of surgery, such as having your wisdom teeth pulled or having had stitches or anything like that, we can test that and find that that shorts the circuit. Dr. O, we know, had stitches a long time ago. He's had a lot of bumps and bruises in his life. And that scar tissue can cause a short in the circuit, similar to when your computer is on and there's programs running in the background that you're not using. They slow the programs that you're using down. If we turn the background program off, the rest of the computer functions at a more normal speed. Same thing happens in the brain. Same thing happens in the brain of your horse. This horse obviously has a little bit of pain. He doesn't want me to touch his head. So I'm going to use Dr. O as my extension cord to test why we have pain in this horse. Dr. O, if you'll push up on my fingers, please. We're looking for it. And now what this horse is telling me is that he has muscle pain in his poll. So the muscles that hold his head onto his neck are tired, they're stressed, they're spasming. And I immediately get response in my surrogate or in my extension cord. How does that work? Boy, that's a tough question because a lot of people think this is real voodoo. But what they need to understand is that when we are in an electrical field, that electricity transmits to everything in that field. If you've ever touched an electric fence, you know what I'm talking about. When you're grounded and you touch the fence, the electricity travels through your body. Dr. O is touching the electrical fence of this animal. One thing that scientists have taught us, and this is not new information, some of this was found back in the 1940s, is that our brains actually emit 40 hertz of electricity, and it can be detected outside of our skulls all the time. It's not necessarily in sequence all the time, but when we learn something, all of those things line up for that brief second, and then it goes away. So what we're learning from this animal is that his sequence is out, and we end up with a short in the circuit. All right, what we did was we took a little break, and we adjusted this horse's head because of that muscle spasm was causing him a lot of pain. Then what we're going to do is come back and recheck. You can see that Dr. O is nice and strong here. And when I check this horse's muscles in his poll, he's still a little uncomfortable with me coming near his poll, but the signal that I'm getting through that electrical course is that we have better signal, we have better firing, that the muscles are actually stronger. So this is how it works. We look for the short in the circuit, we find it, we go back and fix it through chiropractic, acupuncture, using some injury recall techniques, lots of different techniques. But what applied kinesiology does is it lets us find it in the system. We can go find a weak muscle on this horse that we know is already tied to some other structures, and that's his abdominal muscles. And then we can find what it's connected to. And it's here in his chest. So we know that there are connections through this animal. If he's got a weak muscle in one place, we know that it's going to show up in another area that we can fix. And it's a nice way to make his chiropractic adjustments last longer. It's a good way to help with chronic pain. It's a good way to go back and find old injuries that are still firing in the background, turn them off, so that we can let the rest of the animal function at a better speed. Just like we would do when we find an old injury, push up here, on a friend, such as the stitches on Dr. O's head, or any dental work, things like that. We can find that on our animal as well. And then we know that we have to go back and fix it. So, if you don't have the money for an MRI, finding a qualified person, generally a chiropractic veterinarian or a chiropractor who has been trained in animal chiropractic, who can do applied kinesiology, this is a really good way to go back and find the root of some of the causes of pain, inflammation, disease, old injury that is contributing to the fact that your horse just isn't as strong or as able as you would like him to be. Why he can't reach that potential. Why his movement isn't quite what it should be. Why his stride is shorter. Why his breathing isn't as good. All of these are good reasons to go and find someone who can do that work for you. That is why applied kinesiology is the best money you can spend and get good results without having to do an MRI of the whole horse.